This timeline of computer viruses and worms presents a chronology of noteworthy computer viruses, computer worms, Trojan horses, similar malware, related research and events. 1949, John von Neumann's article on the theory of self-reproducing automata is published. The article is based on lectures given by von Neumann at the University of Illinois about the theory and organization of complicated automata in 1949. 1970 Euro 1979 1971 The Creeper System, an experimental self-replicating program, is written by Bob Thomas at BBN Technologies to test John von Neumann's theory. Creeper infected DECP-DP10 computers running the TENEX operating system. Creeper gained access via the ARPANET and copied itself to the remote system where the message "I'm the Creeper, catch me if you can" was displayed. The Reaper program was later created to delete Creeper. 1973 In fiction, the 1973 Michael Crichton movie Westworld made an early mention of the concept of a computer virus being a central plot theme that causes androids to run amok. Alan Oppenheimer's character summarizes the problem by stating that there's a clear pattern here which suggests an analogy to an infectious disease process, spreading from one area to the next. To which the replies are stated, perhaps there are superficial similarities to disease, and, I must confess I find it difficult to believe in a disease of machinery. 1974 The rabbit virus, more a fork bomb than a virus, is written. The rabbit virus makes multiple copies of itself on a single computer until it clogs the system, reducing system performance, before finally reaching a threshold and crashing the computer. 1975 April, Animal is written by John Walker for the UNIVC 1108. Animal asked a number of questions of the user in an attempt to guess the type of animal that the user was thinking of, while the related program Pervade would create a copy of itself and Animal in every directory to which the current user had access. It spread across the multi-user UNIVCs when users with overlapping permissions discovered the game, and to other computers when tapes were shared. The program was carefully written to avoid damage to existing file or directory structures, and not to copy itself if permissions did not exist or if damage could result. Its spread was therefore halted by an OS upgrade which changed the format of the file status tables that Pervade used for safe copying. Though non-malicious, Pervading Animal represents the first Trojan in the wild. The novel The Shockwave Rider by John Brunner is published, coining the word worm to describe a program that propagates itself through a computer network. 1980 Euro 1989 1981 A program called Elk Cloner, written for Apple II systems, was created by Richard Skrenter. The Apple II was seen as particularly vulnerable due to the storage of its operating system on floppy disk. Elk Cloner's design combined with public ignorance about what malware was and how to protect against it led to Elk Cloner being responsible for the first large-scale computer virus outbreak in history. 1983 November, the term virus is coined by Frederick Cohen in describing self-replicating computer programs. In 1984 Cohen uses the phrase computer virus as suggested by his teacher Leonard Edelman to describe the operation of such programs in terms of infection. He defines a virus as a program that can infect other programs by modifying them to include a possibly evolved copy of itself. Cohen demonstrates a virus-like program on a VAX11/750 system at Lehigh University. The program could install itself in, or infect, other system objects. 1984 August, Ken Thompson publishes his seminal paper, Reflections on Trusting Trust, in which he describes how he modified a C compiler so that when used to compile a specific version of the Unix operating system, it inserted a backdoor into the login command, and when used to compile itself, it inserted the backdoor insertion code, even if neither the backdoor nor the backdoor insertion code were present in the source code. 1986 January, the Brain boot sector virus is released. Brain is considered the first IBM PC-compatible virus, and the program responsible for the first IBM PC-compatible virus epidemic. The virus is also known as Lahore, Pakistani, Pakistani brain, and Pakistani flu as it was created in Lahore, Pakistan by 19-year-old Pakistani programmer, Basit Farooq Alvi, and his brother, Amjad Farooq Alvi. December, Rolf Berger presented the Verda model of programs at a meeting of the Underground Chaos Computer Club in Germany. The Verda model represented the first programs that could replicate themselves via addition of their code to executable DOS files in COMP format. 1987 Appearance of the Vienna virus, which was subsequently neutralized the first time this had happened on the IBM platform. Appearance of Lehigh virus, boot sector viruses such as Yale from USA, Stoned from New Zealand, Ping Pong from Italy, and appearance of first self-encrypting file virus, Cascade. Lehigh was stopped on campus before it spread to the wild, and has never been found elsewhere as a result. A subsequent infection of Cascade in the offices of IBM Belgium led to IBM responding with its own antivirus product development. Prior to this, antivirus solutions developed at IBM were intended for staff use only. October, the Jerusalem virus, part of the Sarive family, is detected in the city of Jerusalem. The virus destroys all executable files on infected machines upon every occurrence of Friday the 13th. Jerusalem caused a worldwide epidemic in 1988. November, the SCA virus, a boot sector virus for Amigas appears, immediately creating a pandemic virus writer storm. A short time later, SCA releases another, considerably more destructive virus, the Byte Bandit. December, Christmas Tree EXEC was the first widely disruptive replicating network program, which paralyzed several international computer networks in December 1987. It was written in regs on the VMCMS operating system and originated in what was then West Germany. It re-emerged in 1990. 1988 March 1, the Ping Pong virus, an MS-DOS boot sector virus, is discovered at University of Turin in Italy. June, the cyber AIDS and festering hate Apple Pro-DOS viruses spreads from underground pirate BBS systems and starts infecting mainstream networks. Festering hate was the last iteration of the cyber AIDS series extending back to 1985 and 1986. Unlike the few Apple viruses that had come before which were essentially annoying, but did no damage, the festering hate series of viruses was extremely destructive, spreading to all system files it could find on the host computer and then destroying everything when it could no longer find any uninfected files. November 2, the Morris worm, created by Robert Tappan Morris, infects DEC VAX and Sun machines running BSD Unix that are connected to the Internet, and becomes the first worm to spread extensively in the wild, and one of the first well-known programs exploiting buffer overrun vulnerabilities. 1989 October, Gospel, the first multipartite virus, is discovered by Friedrich Skarlazen. It infects both executable COM files and boot sectors on MS-DOS systems. It captures certain information entered or saved by the user, with the corresponding threat to privacy, causes the loss of information stored on the computer, either specific files or data in general, affects the productivity of the computer, the network to which unregistered trademark is connected or other remote sites, decrease the security level of the computer, but does not automatically spread itself. December, several thousand floppy disks containing the AIDS Trojan, the first known ransomware, are mailed to subscribers of PC Business World magazine and a WHO AIDS conference mailing list. This DOS Trojan lies dormant for 90 boot cycles, then encrypts all file names on the system, displaying a notice asking for $189 to be sent to a post office box in Panama in order to receive a decryption program. 1990 Euro 1999 1990 Mark Washburn, working on an analysis of the Vienna and Cascade viruses with Rolf Berger, develops the first family of polymorphic viruses, the Chameleon family. Chameleon series debuted with the release of 1260 June. The form computer virus is isolated in Switzerland. It would remain in the wild for almost 20 years and reappear afterwards. During the 1990s it tended to be the most common virus in the wild with 20 to more than 50% of reported infections. 1992 March. The Michelangelo virus was expected to create a digital apocalypse on March 6, with millions of computers having their information wiped, according to mass media hysteria surrounding the virus. Later assessments of the damage showed the aftermath to be minimal. John McAfee had been quoted by the media as saying that 5 million computers would be affected. He later said that, pressed by the interviewer to come up with a number, he had estimated a range from 5,000 to 5 million, but the media naturally went with just the higher number. 1993 Lendro, or Lendro and Kelly, and Freddy Krueger spread quickly due to popularity of BBS and shareware distribution. 1994 April, 1/2 is a DOS-based polymorphic computer virus. 1995 the first macro virus, called Concept, is created. It attacked Microsoft Word documents. 1996 Ply a DOS 16-bit based complicated polymorphic virus appeared with built-in permutation engine. Boza, the first virus designed specifically for Windows 95 files arrives. LaRue, the first Excel macro virus appears. Stalog, the first Linux virus attacks Linux machines. 1998 June 2, the first version of the CIH virus appears. It is the first known virus able to erase flash ROM BIOS content. 1999 January 20, the Happy 99 worm first appeared. It invisibly attaches itself to emails, displays fireworks to hide the changes being made, and wishes the user a Happy New Year. It modifies system files related to Outlook Express and Internet Explorer on Windows 95 and Windows. March 26, 98, the Melissa worm was released, targeting Microsoft Word and Outlook-based systems, and creating considerable network traffic. June 6, the Explore Zip worm, which destroys Microsoft Office documents, was first detected. December 30, the CAC worm is a JavaScript computer worm that spread itself by exploiting a bug in Outlook Express. 2000 2009 2000 May 5, the Illiviru worm, also known as Love Letter, or VBS, or Love Bug worm, is a computer worm purportedly created by a Filipino computer science student. Written in VBS script, it infected millions of Windows computers worldwide within a few hours of its release. Using social engineering techniques, it is considered to be one of the most damaging worms ever. June 28, the Pikachu virus is believed to be the first computer virus geared at children. It contains the character Pikachu from the Poker Copyright Mon series, and is in the form of an email titled Pikachu Pokemon with the message, "Pikachu is your friend." The attachment to the email has an image of a pensive Pikachu, along with a message stating, "Between millions of people around the world I found you." Donia unregistered trademark T. Forget to remember this day every time my friend. Along with the image, there is a program, written in Visual Basic 6, called Pikachu Pokemon X that modifies the AutoExec.bat file and adds a command for removing the contents of directories C/Windows and C/Windows/System at computer's restart. But, a message would pop up during startup, asking the user if they would like to delete the contents. The affected operating systems are Windows 95, Windows 98 and Windows ME. 2001 February 11, the Anna Kournikova virus hits email servers hard by sending email to contacts in the Microsoft Outlook address book. Its creator, Dutchman Jan de Wit, was sentenced to 150 hours of community service. May 8, the SudMind worm spreads by exploiting holes in both Sun Solaris and Microsoft IIS. July, the Circom worm is released, spreading through Microsoft systems via email and unprotected network shares. July 13, the Code Red worm attacking the Index Server IS API extension in Microsoft Internet Information Services is released. August 4, a complete rewrite of the Code Red worm, Code Red 2 begins aggressively spreading onto Microsoft systems, primarily in China. September 18, the NIMDA worm is discovered and spreads through a variety of means including vulnerabilities in Microsoft Windows and backdoors left by Code Red 2 and SetMind worm. October 26, the CLAS worm is first identified. It exploits a vulnerability in Microsoft Internet Explorer and Microsoft Outlook and Outlook Express. 2002 February 11, the Simile virus is a metamorphic computer virus written in assembly. Beast is a Windows-based backdoor Trojan horse, more commonly known as RAT. It is capable of infecting almost all versions of Windows. Written in Delphi and released first by its author Tate in 2002, its most current version was released October 3, 2004. March 7, malware is a computer worm that spread itself by sending malicious emails to all the contacts in Microsoft Outlook. August 30, Optics Pro is a configurable remote access tool or Trojan, similar to Sub7 or BO2K. 2003 January 24, the SQL Slammer worm, also known as Sapphire worm, Heelkern and other names, attacks vulnerabilities in Microsoft SQL Server and MSDE becomes the fastest spreading worm of all time, crashing the Internet within 15 minutes of release. April 2, Greybird is a Trojan horse also known as backdoor Greybird. June 13, ProRat is a Turkish-made Microsoft Windows-based backdoor Trojan horse, more commonly known as RAT. August 12, the Blaster worm, also known as the Loverson worm, rapidly spreads by exploiting a vulnerability in system services present on Windows computers. August 18, the Welchia worm is discovered. The worm tries to remove the Blaster worm and patch Windows. August 19, the Sobig worm spreads rapidly through Microsoft systems via mail and network shares. September 18, Swan is a computer worm written in C++. October 24, the Sober worm is first seen on Microsoft systems and maintains its presence until 2005 with many new variants. The simultaneous attacks on network weak points by the Blaster and Sobig worms cause massive damage. November 10, Agabot is a computer worm that can spread itself by exploiting vulnerabilities on Microsoft Windows. Some of the vulnerabilities are MS03-026 and MS05-039. November 20, Bolgimo is a computer worm that spread itself by exploiting a buffer overflow vulnerability at Microsoft Windows DCOM-RPC interface. 2004 January 18, Bagel is a mass mailing worm affecting all versions of Microsoft Windows. There were two variants of Bagel worm, Bagel A and Bagel B. Bagel B was discovered on February 17, 2004. January 23, the Alt10N worm was a Linux worm that spread by exploiting a buffer overflow in the Bind DNS server. It was based on an earlier worm known as the Raman worm which was written to target systems running versions 6.2 and 7.0 of the Red Hat Linux distribution. Late January, the MyDoom worm emerges, and currently holds the record for the fastest spreading mass mailer worm. February 16, the NetSkew worm is discovered. The worm spreads by email and by copying itself to folders on the local hard drive as well as on mapped network drives if available. Many variants of the NetSkew worm appeared. March 19, the Witty worm is a record-breaking worm in many regards. It exploited holes in several Internet security systems products. It was the fastest disclosure to worm, it was the first Internet worm to carry a destructive payload and it spread rapidly using a pre-populated list of ground zero hosts. May 1, the Sasser worm emerges by exploiting a vulnerability in the Microsoft Windows LSASS service and causes problems in networks, while removing MyDoom and Bagel variants, even interrupting business. June 15, Carib or Cabia is a computer worm that is designed to infect mobile phones that run Symbian OS. It is the first computer worm that can infect mobile phones. It spread itself through Bluetooth. More information can be found on F-Secure and Symantec. August 16, Nuclear RAT is a backdoor Trojan that infects Windows NT family systems. August 20, Vundu, or the Vundu Trojan is a Trojan known to cause pop-ups and advertising for rogue anti-spyware programs, and sporadically other misbehavior including performance degradation and denial of service with some websites including Google and Facebook. October 12, Bifrost, also known as Bflows, is a backdoor Trojan which can infect Windows 95 through Vista. Bifrost uses the typical server builder, and client backdoor program configuration to allow a remote attack. December, Santi, the first known webworm is launched. It exploited a vulnerability in PHP-BB and used Google in order to find new targets. It infected around 40,000 sites before Google filtered the search query used by the worm, preventing it from spreading. 2005 August 2005, Zotob, October 2005, the copy protection rootkit deliberately and surreptitiously included on music CDs sold by Sony BMG is exposed. The rootkit creates vulnerabilities on affected computers, making them susceptible to infection by worms and viruses. Late 2005, the Zlob Trojan, is a Trojan horse program that masquerades as a required video codec in the form of the Microsoft Windows ActiveX component. It was first detected in late 2005. Banduk or Banduk Rat is a backdoor Trojan horse that infects the Windows family. It uses a server creator, a client and a server to take control over the remote computer. It uses process hijacking/kernel patching to bypass the firewall, and let the server component hijack processes and gain rights for accessing the Internet. 2006 January 20, the Nixon worm was discovered. It spread by mass mailing. Its payload, which activates on the 3rd of every month, starting on February 3, attempts to disable security-related and file-sharing software, and destroy files of certain types, such as Microsoft Office files. February 16, discovery of the first-ever malware for Mac OS X, a low-threat Trojan horse known as OS X Leap A or OS X Zoom A, is announced. Late March, Brontok variant N was found in late March. Brontok was a mass email worm and the origin for the worm was from Indonesia. Late September, Stratian or Orizov worm first discovered. 2007 January 17, Stormworm identified as a fast-spreading email spamming threat to Microsoft systems. It begins gathering infected computers into the Storm botnet. By around June 30 it had infected 1.7 million computers, and it had compromised between 1 and 10 million computers by September. Thought to have originated from Russia, it disguises itself as a news email containing a film about bogus news stories asking you to download the attachment which it claims is a film. July, Zeus is a Trojan that targets Microsoft Windows to steal banking information by keystroke logging. 2008 February 17, Mockmex is a Trojan, which was found in a digital photo frame in February 2008. It was the first serious computer virus on a digital photo frame. The virus was traced back to a group in China. March 3, Torpig, also known as Cinoal and Mabrut, is a Trojan horse that affects Windows, turning off antivirus applications. It allows others to access the computer, modifies data, steals confidential information and installs more malware on the victim's computer. May 6, Roostoxy, a hitherto rumored spam-bot-type malware with advanced rootkit capabilities, was announced to have been detected on Microsoft systems and analyzed, having been in the wild and undetected since October 2007 at the very least. July 6, Botnets is a configurable remote access tool or Trojan that exploits security flaws in Adobe Flash 9.0.115 with Internet Explorer 7.0 and Firefox 2.0 under Windows XP SP2. July 31, the Codface computer worm targets users of Facebook and MySpace. New variants constantly appear. November 21, computer worm Comfica infects anywhere from 9 to 15 million Microsoft server systems running everything from Windows 2000 to the Windows 7 beta. The French Navy, UK Ministry of Defence, Sheffield Hospital Network, German Bundeswehr and Norwegian Police were all affected. Microsoft sets a bounty of $250,000 for information leading to the capture of the worm's author, S. 5 main variants of the Conficker worm are known and have been dubbed Conficker A, B, C, D and E. They were discovered November 21, 2008, December 29, 2008, February 20, 2009, March 4, 2009 and April 7, 2009, respectively. On December 16, 2008, Microsoft releases KB958644 patching the server service vulnerability responsible for the spread of Conficker. 2009 July 4. The July 2009 cyber attacks occur and the emergence of the W-32 Dozer attack the United States and South Korea. July 15, Symantec discovered Daprisi worm. Said Trojan worm is intended to steal online game passwords in internet cafes. It could, in fact, intercept all keystrokes and send them to its author, which makes it potentially a very dangerous worm to infect B2B systems. 2010 and later. 2010 January, the Whaleduck botnet sent spam emails. In February 2010, an international group of security researchers and Microsoft took Whaleduck down. February 18, Microsoft announced that a BSOD problem on some Windows machines, which was triggered by a batch of Patch Tuesday updates, was caused by the Illyrian Trojan. June 17, Stuxnet, a Windows Trojan, was detected. It is the first worm to attack SCADA systems. There are suggestions that it was designed to target Iranian nuclear facilities. It uses a valid certificate from Realtek. September 9, the virus, called Here You Have, or Mania, is a simple Trojan horse that arrives in the inbox with the odd but suggestive subject line Here You Have. The body reads This is the document I told you about, you can find it here, or This is the free download sex movies, you can find it here. September 15, the virus called Kenzero is a virus that spreads online from peer-to-peer sites taking browsing history. 2011 SpyIN's use merged code is seen. New variants attack mobile phone banking information. Anti-spyware 2011, a Trojan horse that attacks Windows 9X, 2000, XP, Vista, and Windows 7, posing as an anti-spyware program. It actually disables security-related process of antivirus programs, while also blocking access to the Internet, which prevents updates. Summer 2011, the Morto worm attempts to propagate itself to additional computers via the Microsoft Windows Remote Desktop Protocol. Morto spreads by forcing infected systems to scan for Windows servers allowing RDP login. Once Morto finds an RDP-accessible system, it attempts to log into a domain or local system account named administrator using a number of common passwords. A detailed overview of how the worm works along with the password dictionary Morto use was done by Imperva. July 13, the zero-access rootkit was discovered. September 1, Duke is a worm thought to be related to the Stuxnet worm. The Laboratory of Cryptography and System Security of the Budapest University of Technology and Economics in Hungary discovered the threat, analyzed the malware, and wrote a 60-page report naming the threat Duke. Duke gets its name from the prefix DQ it gives to the names of files it creates. 2012 May, Flame, also known as Flamer, SKY Wiper, and Skywiper, a modular computer malware that attacks computers running Microsoft Windows. Used for targeted cyber espionage in Middle Eastern countries. Its discovery was announced on May 28, 2012 by MAHE, a Center of Iranian National Computer Emergency Response Team, Kaspersky Lab and CrySYS Lab of the Budapest University of Technology and Economics. CrySYS stated in their report that SKY Wiper is certainly the most sophisticated malware we encountered during our practice. Arguably, it is the most complex malware ever found. August 16. Shamoon is a computer virus designed to target computers running Microsoft Windows in the energy sector. Symantec, Kaspersky Lab, and Seculet announced its discovery on August 16, 2012. September 20, NGRBOT is a worm that uses the IRC network for file transfer, sending and receiving commands between zombie network machines and the attacker, a unregistered trademark SIRC server, and monitoring and controlling network connectivity and intercept. It employs a user mode rootkit technique to hide and steal its victim, a unregistered trademark S information. This family of bot is also designed to infect HTML pages with inline frames, causing redirections, blocking victims from getting updates from security anti-malware products, and killing those services. The bot is designed to connect via a predefined IRC channel and communicate with a remote botnet. 2013 September, the CryptoLocker Trojan horse is discovered. CryptoLocker encrypts the files on a user's hard drive, then prompts them to pay a ransom to the developer in order to receive the decryption key. In the following months, a number of copycat ransomware Trojans are also discovered. December, the Game Over's Use Trojan is discovered. This type of virus steals one's login details on popular websites that involve monetary transactions. It works by detecting a login page, then proceeds to inject a malicious code into the page, keystroke logging the computer user's details. 2014 November, the Trojan Trojan horse is discovered. Trojan is a dropper that is primarily spread via spoofed web pages. Once downloaded, Trojan quietly downloads extensions of itself, making it difficult to be detected via antivirus signatures. It is suspected to have been created by the United States and United Kingdom over a period of months or years, as a tool for espionage and mass surveillance. See also, helpful worm, multipartite virus, timeline of computer security hacker history. References. External links, Snopes, a compilation of viruses, worms, and Trojan horses at snopes.com. A Short History of Hacks, Worms and Cyber Terror by Mary Keefe, Computer World, April 2009.